It is 2 p.m. Central African time on this good but chilly afternoon in Babane, and I suppose it is chilly across the whole country, but I hope you're warm. And if you're not, please receive my warm welcome into today's episode of Market View. I am Sifiso Ngumalo, really happy to be with you today. Now stay with me over the next half an hour as we track developments around the nation's economy and how it feeds into the overall sustainable economic growth of the country. It has been just over a month since it was officially announced that the Kingdom of Eswatini can now officially trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, developments like the conclusion of the AfCFTA national strategy have been made, and Eswatini is ready to join other African state parties in the Guided Trade Initiative. I will be in conversation with our business journalist Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, who caught up with Trade Minister Manqoba Khumalo. They discussed the advent of the AfCFTA in Eswatini, particularly commodities. What do commodities mean in the AfCFTA? We'll talk about it with Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla on the show in about 10 minutes. But we'll wrap things up with an analysis of the financial markets of the day, just to look at today's indices. That with our economist, Sanele Sibia. But for now, let's start the show with today's business news. Right, for our first story, the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Manqoba Khumalo, says they have ensured that some industries are protected as Eswatini gears towards trading in the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, the Minister was responding to a question on what would happen to infant industries, as there's a possibility of commodities influx, as this agreement means opening of borders in the African countries.
The influx of commodities from African countries remains a risk because when you open up trade, you can't open it up one way. It has to be a two-way street. But what we have done is there are certain protections that we have signed up for. Right now, it's only about 90% of our products that are up for free trade in the continent. We've protected certain industries, for example, sugar, imports in sugar will still remain controlled, and a few other, products of that nature where we believe jobs will be lost and businesses might be lost if we open up those industries. We've also protected textiles to some extent because, again, it's an industry that employs close to 30,000 in Eswatini, and some of those businesses are locally owned. People don't know that some textile businesses are actually locally owned, but there are a number of them that are actually locally owned, and we want to make sure we protect those jobs. There's no reward without a risk, so that risk has to be taken, but the way you mitigate that risk is for our business people, for local business people to start visiting these African countries and seeing what can I supply to Ghana, what can I supply to Egypt, what can I supply to Kenya, because it has opened up. And if we become lax and we don't become aggressive as a nation in exploring these opportunities, then we might find ourselves not realizing the benefit, but rather being negatively affected. That is why then we put together this implementation strategy, because we realize that our business people will need help to actually access these markets, because if left on their own, they might be exposed to the risks that you mentioned. We have launched the implementation strategy of the AfCFTA. This has been a process that has been ongoing for the last 4 or 5 years. And it has culminated in us as Eswatini being one of the 5 SACU countries that can now start trading under the AfCFTA. What I like about that is it allows companies that are already export-oriented in Eswatini to access new markets tariff-free. Previously, there were markets that local companies could not necessarily access without duties because there were no agreements with those countries. We did have SACU, we did have SADC, we did have COMESA, but all countries in Africa that were not part of the 3 required us to pay extra duties that now we may not necessarily pay.
The United Nations and the Central Bank of Eswatini have held a roundtable on enabling policies for financing sustainable development, as well as enhancing poverty reduction. Now, speaking during the event held at the Happy Valley Hotel at Eswatini, the United Nations resident coordinator George Washira said the roundtable is also meant to find ways to invest more in key sectors in order to revitalize the economy.
This meeting is here to discuss an important area of development, which we call priority sector leading. This is the idea of how we can encourage policy tools to be leveraged towards particular areas of production in society that could help us advance sustainable development, while at the same time addressing major development issues such as unemployment, reduction of poverty, as commanded the other day by His Majesty the King. Now, what do we expect out of this conversation today? We had a presentation, a very interesting one, from the Reserve Bank of India. Over 50 years ago, they got together and they developed a list of what they called priority sectors, and then came up with policies that encouraged commercial banks to lend to those particular sectors, such as agriculture, micro and small and medium-sized enterprises, education, social infrastructure, and interestingly, including renewable energy. And we are saying, as we mark halfway towards the 2030 deadline for Sustainable Development Goals, we need to do anything we can to accelerate development towards the achievement of those Sustainable Development Goals.
The governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Phil Mnisi, says combating climate change is key in sustainable development.
Whilst we are doing this, we are bringing in the issue of climate change, green financing, because we need to grow our economy on a sustainable basis. That's why we are bringing in the context of climate change, green financing, greening the economy, greening the financial sector. We want this to be relevant as we are lending in these priority sectors. When I was discussing with the UN coordinator, I said today, let's focus on a dialogue. Let's focus on coming up with ideas, implementation that is going to be on a coordinated basis. We need the voice of the banking sector, we need the private sector, we need the public sector, we need the banking sector. We need to have this coordinated approach. My view, and I'm happy that he agreed to it, is that we'll then lift it up to a policy level. We would like to have this similar dialogue with policymakers, because unless there is a policy and a political will, we will never realize what we are talking about.
The roundtable participants agreed that stronger collaboration at various levels, institutional coordination, and instilling the culture of entrepreneurship are some of the key areas that need to be looked into in order to revitalize the economy. For Market View, Nalswen Tlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Ezulwini.
It's 9 minutes after 2. Let's take a quick ad break. See, we are again Nelsu and Langamandla, our business journalist, to discuss the development of the AFCFTA in Eswatini.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sikhulumeni.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. Countries under the African Continental Free Trade Area will trade in their currencies. The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Khumalo, said this during an interview where he detailed the benefits of Eswatini under this agreement. Let's listen to the Minister.
The really good thing when it comes to that question is that one of the protocols that has been signed as part of the AFCFTA is a common trading platform where each country can trade in their own currency, and in that platform it gets converted into whatever currency that the other stakeholder is operating in, but it interfaces between countries without you feeling it. So we will trade in our normal currency, and every country will basically trade in their normal currency, but there will be there is actually already a platform that enables digital trade, and as we start implementing this, this will be actually rolled out so that people can understand how it works.
That's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Mangoba Khumalo. He's saying something really, really interesting, and I suppose this was going to be a concern for a lot of traders. He's saying that people will trade using their own currencies. How has the business community welcomed that development?
Siyabonga kakhulu Sifiso. I-business community lekusho ukuthi kwanyalo isatobuka ukuthi satokhulumisana nalo litiko ive kahle, because they are saying the acceptability of these currencies, some of them are unstable. I'll make an example nje Sifiso kwekuthi mangabe ngithengisa imoto 1 million dollars mhlawumbe lamhla ngaba ngi-70,000, but le mali nase ifika la kimi mhlawumbe with the volatility utawukhanza ukuthi sayifika ing-50,000. So bathi basetobonisana because this is an ongoing process, so batobuka ukuthi engabe lapho kutawuhamba kanjani vele.
Yeah, Basabuksana, is it confirmed? Because you look at a lot of agreements and the currency that is used for trading is the United States dollar. It's always the US dollar, well, in most cases that is. Are we not hearing that this could be the case here, Minister Velusnigetat Folokina? And if that was the case, yeah, what would that mean?
Uma ngabe sitrader ngema-dollar lokusho ukuthi njengoba minister asho ukuthi seyivele info lesethiwe leseyibukiwe lena ukuthi vele kutawutradwa ngalama currencies. I'm sure there is going to be a way labatawubuka ngayo ukuthi bende that allowance to ensure ukuthi uma ngabe kwendeka mhlawumbe selehla lelo dollar lase Zimbabwe for example, utawukhushnika kanjani lo somabhizinisi lapha ekhaya, ngoba the business community is saying if we export more as a country, esithola imali lengema-dollar, that is good for foreign exchange reserves ethu. But nangabe kukhanzakala ukuthi we import more, sengibekise nje nangabe sisebenzisa wona lama-dollar, if we import more, then that means reserves ethu vele amandinde asenkingeni. Yes.
Yeah, no. I'm really interested in learning about, some of the trade overlaps that happen. We've seen that happen quite a lot, because with some trade agreements, there's commerce, there's everything. And I'm sure you did ask the minister about that. Sive Invona Mangoba Khumalo iphendula trade overlaps.
The AFCFTA enhances those agreements as opposed to diminishing them. And the reason I'm saying that is whatever benefits you were getting in SACU, whatever benefits you were getting in SADC, whatever benefits we were getting in COMESA, all of those benefits are encapsulated in the AFCFTA. It's just a bigger agreement covering all the African countries, but basically there will not be a situation where the country will be adversely affected by the AFCFTA in a relationship that already existed with a country due to agreements that were there before. The idea is, every country has identified goods that they believe may need a level of protection because they want to protect those industries. My understanding is that by 2030, the aspiration is that the number of goods that are protected should not be more than 3%. So in other words, 97% of the goods should be traded freely across the continent. Because right now, if you heard me, we're starting at 90%. So we are going to be at 97% by 2030, meaning that we need to look at the other goods that we've protected to say how do we release them over time, but release them responsibly by building the capabilities to either do that competitively so that those goods can still get into the African market or substitute industries where we can start manufacturing cars in Eswatini. So we know when we lose competitiveness in one sector, we have created competitiveness in a new sector. But the idea is that we need to chip away at the number of goods that cannot be traded freely, because if we hold on to a huge number of goods and say we want to protect this, then is it a free trade era really? It isn't. So but we've said 3% is reasonable because it's important that every country can protect its competitive advantage in one sector or another.
Yeah, nasiwe ukhuluma tintfo letimnandzi kakhulu ba traders ethu ngamambala cishe ngathi konke nje sekumele ukuthi salo ba trader vele. And ngathi if you think about it, some of the red tapes that could have been possible, they have been solved, and I suppose this could be a moment for us kubashayela tandla balitiko la commerce industry and trade lokuba naleyo, you know, lokuba proactive nalokuba naleyo focus ukuthi this could happen, this could be a hindrance, let's fix it, all the strategies. But indzaba lenkulu leyayibe khona, some of our traders have been complaining about, you know, trade finance, and it's not just something that is unique to Eswatini, it's a global thing. Ngabe live la ngwane liyak-addressa yini lokho?
Liyak-addressa kakhulu. Sifiso sibonile last week APA ahlangene netinhlangothi letahlukene kunabo EU, kune American Embassy, where they were looking at how can we help lama traders ethu, because kuyabonakala kakhulu tindzaba tetimali. Nalamhla Central Bank uhlangene naye UN kubuka ukuthi what kind of frameworks lengendiwa kude ukuthi lama traders ethu akhone ukuthi akhone ku trader, akhone kusekeleka kahle. But indzaba lenkulu lengiyivile ngiyo yona lendzaba yemithetho ukuthi noma ngabe bayafuna lokuba finance, but le mithetho isengekho kahle.
Yeah. I do want to, you know, usakhuluma lendzaba leyo, it was quite interesting to learn, and you know, I'm happy that you're bringing up the lomsebenzi waka APA last week na USAID. They mentioned something linked to Sakul. World Trade Organization last year announced that global trade merchandise stood at a whopping $22 trillion. That's $22 trillion, but Africa only contributed 8% of that. And that's Africa, like you can imagine, as a small economy that we are, and we really want to tap into trade, Nelly. But say, you know, as they fix in the trade finance, and I'm happy the stakeholders were there, Mapang, I believe all the major banks in Eswatini were there. What will that mean for Eswatini getting into trade, as we have seen that they're already incentivizing our traders? I think they were giving them awards as well on that event.
Yeah. Ngicabanga ukuthi kumqoka kakhulu because bekupresenta the Bank of India lapha basitshela ukuthi 40% of i-financing yabo bona ukhanza ukuthi iyakhona kulama key areas. Njengema SMEs ukhanza ukuthi la kangwane nasipresenta thine sithi 80% imali lebolekwako ngiyo iyakubo consumption. So kumqoka kakhulu lokwekuthi vele tikhulunyiswe letindzaba leti, and kumqoka kakhulu ukuthi live leSwatini lithathe these aggressive actions ukuthi nalo liconnect trader ngaphandle kwale live, because kusenema bottlenecks lokhanza ukuthi akhona njengekuma kakhulu egedeni njengabo bona labo trade financing. So kumqoka ukuthi vele these issues are tackled.
And you know, one of the biggest bottlenecks, and I'm happy you're mentioning that, one of the biggest bottlenecks in trade finance particularly is that, and I'm happy they cited an example. You're a trader, you're trading, let's say, handicrafts, sesisemagcebesha mabona. Lithi live la seZimbabwe lifuna 1 million emagcebesha. Capacity yakho wena in terms of, you know, your finances that you have can only give you 500,000. That means you are losing a 500,000 because you don't have money. So it's beautiful to see ukuthi APA Business Eswatini, every business stakeholder babukusana ukuthi akube bete lama bottlenecks lama red tapes
Yeah.
nakubolekwa leti imali amabhange akasibambise because sonke sisebentela umnotfo welive.
Even the policies, because lokukhulu kakhulu lamuhla nje kule round table ya UN kanye
Yeah.
naye Central Bank kuthi lama policies phela elive ikakhulu la kubolekeni imali labo somabhizinisi asekabe aligned khona batokhona lokuthi babolekeke emabhizinisi because lokunye ngeke nje umnike somabhizinisi ukuthi okay na imali ihamba, but there has to be that give and take ukuthi nangikunika phela utayibuyisa leyo mali yalelo bhange noma yaleyo financial institution.
Yeah, Nelly, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights. It's going to be beautiful once we see, we are hitting the ground running now, already trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area. September, bosoma business bethu sebavele balungele totonke tinhlangothi kunezabata bosima standards lakhona ase trade in terms of export trade. There are standards, there are labelings, there are pricings, all of those logistics funa abe asothekile, but it's just motivating to see all these developments happening. As we look at today's indices on today's financial market with Sanele Sibia, our economist.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Ujala masada mahle kunakho lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
Sivile sive sikhulume.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
26 minutes after 2, welcome back. Let's welcome Mr. Sanele Sbia, our economist on the show. He joins us virtually via Zoom. Mr. Sbia, welcome to the program. It's a very good afternoon. How are our currencies looking today? Equities are in the red, right?
Yeah, no, nasibuka e-US tibomvu tinombolo tethu nxumalo tibuka kona lokuthi kuleli viki liyaphithidela leli viki leli economic calendar sigatse kona nje se-Federal Reserve Bank itabimethi lapha kubo Wednesday itawubuka ama-interest rates but nabe siyabuka leti nombolo timakethe-ke tiyakubuka lokuthi no tinombolo le ndlela letiphuma ngayo tiyasho kokuthi hawu akuthembisi ukuthi lama-interest rates atawuqala ehle ngale ndlela besiwagadze kuthi atawuphuthuma ngayo lokwehla so ngokungasithi imakethe tethu tiyangeke babovu namhlanje siyibonile i-Nasdaq iluze close to 200 points ku-trade yanamuhla. That was almost a 2% loss in terms of volumes umayivala on Friday. But when we look into Europe is a bit optimistic. And then you go again to Asia. Asia naye ungcono namhlanje lokuthi kugatseke kokuthi i-Bank of Japan iwakhathe lama-negative interest rates, negative interest rates ayo and come back to a positive. So that in itself, ngibona kutawusisita. We have siboneke i-growth kuthi all across Shanghai and into Japan. So Asia was a bit optimistic nakhona ngolokhu lokwenteka in the global landscape ukuthi if the West yaphuta kukhatha ama-interest rates, that gives China a room to wiggle around in terms of trying to get their financial markets in place before amanye financial markets abe on the positive, Mr. Min.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. You know, I'm really interested in what is happening in Europe, with Europe being split over the, Russia-Ukraine war, particularly after the developments happening around Ukraine. For we saw Vladimir Putin, obviously, I would say it was a competition, whatever that transpired there. How did that affect the market? The markets, they are optimistic.
Yes, markets there are a bit optimistic. Now ngabuka namhla kokuthi nakhona cause nase-Europe nakhona it's going to be a very busy week. Now kubuka kuphuma tinombolo te-stock market, but nje with what is happening with that strong opposition coming in Russia, so markets are really just hoping for a bit of a change and a bit of a relief. But nasi kubuka ke lokho kube senawubuka i-Brent crude kuyithethe kwayinyusa kancane ngalokuthi there is a bit of that happening in Russia, Ukraine, kwasengale eMiddle East, so asikhona kufika esisombululweni yet kunetinfo lesisatibuka ukuthi letindiza tethu tisazama kubuyela emoyeni tibe yincumbi. So there's a huge demand for fuel, i-supply ayikhuli ngendlela yakhona, so we are really optimistic if things could change in Ukraine nase Russia kutawuba ngconywana. Sivile na President Trump ethembisa naye ukuthi makungabuyela yena nje tayisotha in one day lentfole.
It's very interesting. I want us to look at Forex, the foreign exchange. With last week's Kulu, the slight loss of ground on the Lilangeni and dollar exchange rate, one wonders what is happening this week, particularly with everything that you've just said happening in America, in the Russia-Ukraine war, compared to other major currencies.
Masilikombera nawo onke ma-major currencies langeni lethu ncumalo silibonile ukuthi no solo yangeke ba we really just trailing into nyalo siyalibona belisonzele kakhulu lapha ku-19 against the dollar. So that is just a bit of a loss of ground, but naloko ke kubangwa ngile lesikubonako kwenteka in the global north ukuthi kunaleti nombolo letiphumako, but na ubuka ubuka lama starter indicators ungena ubuka ngenkampani no, the technology sector in the US is really performing well. So nako lokhanza ukuthi there is that improvement in the dollar exchange. So there's those volumes, the trade is looking good that side, but nothing really is happening along it. So Langen Left has lost a bit of ground nanamuhla, inching closer to 19. Same thing now we buka against the euro. We are losing a bit of ground again, inching closer to 21 on the euro. We lost a few points now. Buka go Japanese yen nakhona bese close to the region. So we are close to the region of 750. Yet ivame ukuba lenhla kubo 8 close to the 8 region. So lokho kubangwa ngilokuthi ke vele le calendar ibhizi kakhulu in the global north, like livele umhlaba wonke ubukile singabe utawukwendeka ini ngema interest rates. So nako lesigaba le budget market ase-America ngitona tisitshengisa what they are expecting and what we should expect, what is now being priced into the markets.
Mr. Sibiya, thank you so much for your time again today. Sithembe ukuthi sitawuphindze sichumane nawe kusasa and look at the financial markets again tomorrow. We've come to the end of our program for the day. Thank you so much for being with us. Sithembe ukuthi ke nitawuba warm njengoba kumakhata la ngephandle. Sale kahle.